So what happened to Wade Wilson's teeth? As y'all can see, they look like they've been knocked out. Obviously, drug addiction can do that. Let's be real. As much as people don't want to believe it, that man had his teeth knocked out on top of a heavy addiction to a certain type of substance that smokes and takes all your teeth out. So what I was told from certain inmates that did time with him, especially at Washington where he was at for his first bid where he did 5 years, was this dude was just all over the place to get any type of substance he could. He would run up debts, check in with the police, check in here. He would use anybody, send me money here, send me money there, try to go to another prison, try to go here. And that's what a lot of people do is they will run up a debt, right? And then all of a sudden write in a kite to the officer saying they're in fear for their life. Or do some type of shit where they'll go punch an inmate in the chow hall and get shipped out of there. They'll just make up whatever and leave with that debt. Well, that's what Wade supposedly did. Now, the person telling me this is a very solid dude. And the dude also is part of that organization that he is not part of, but he claims to be. And he's not respected. He's, no disrespect to anybody going through addiction, but he's a junkie in the worst way where he manipulates everybody, robs everybody, will do anything it takes, give up his manhood, give up his self-respect, his dignity, just to get a little hit or a drink of anything. His biggest fear is that silence and that sober night. He cannot handle it. So what he was doing was trying to run up, gambling debts or doing whatever it could do, borrowing, and eventually, members of a certain organization that he claims was telling him, bro, like, you need to stop doing that shit, bro. You're making us look bad. And he was like, oh, yeah, it's like he's very scared and timid when it comes to a man. Like, he's not this tough dude. He's very head down and just follow the leader, whatever he can do to get a little money, get a boyfriend, get a sugar daddy in there, anything. And he ran up a debt and his family wouldn't pay it. The people out there wouldn't pay it. So he checked in and somehow he got out of that prison and went to another one. Well, that organization put a green light on him after they talked to the organization that he robbed. Certain groups do business together or they have respect together. The enemy of my enemy is your friend. And, they told him, man, that's your brother there, da da da. And they're like, that's not our brother, man. He's just a hang around. And they didn't know anything about him at this time. They just knew that he was trying to be part of them. They were going to kind of let him probate. And then they just realized, like, what the fuck? So he wasn't allowed to be part of that organization. And when he went to the next prison with that debt, the member of the organization that he claims from that tattoo on his face put that light on him and said, listen, you see this dude and he says anything about being part of this, probate, none of this, this is his name, this is da-da-da, smash his face. The organization paid off his debt, not because they're his friend, but because they're not going to have anybody make them look bad. So he was on the yard and they sent the torpedoes at him, the crash dummies. And they went up to him and he was thinking he was going to like shake up with them and like, yeah, man, I know such and such. But they already knew what time it was. And they broke his face, kicked his face in, punched him. He was in a fetal position, just crying. He tried to tell on everybody, but at Washington and other prisons up there, they laugh at you, man. He went to confinement and he tried to go to PC every chance he could get, but he couldn't. So he kept getting a lot of ass whoopings and he was no good. He had to always borrow from people that were weaker or, boyfriends that he had and get a sugar daddy real fucked up, man. Like, he could be tough and manipulating all these weaker people and hurt women that aren't, ready for that type of violence or just go after weaker people. But when it comes to men in prison, he is scared to death and got his teeth knocked out, period. And then when he came home, he had a heavy, heavy addiction. And what he was smoking and using made his teeth rot also. And from what I'm being told is that his life in that jail was nothing but using, getting high. And he ran up a debt. And, I'm not going to put that person out there, but one of his little groupies ended up having to pay about $4,000 to an inmate. And that was with the VIG. If you don't know what the VIG is, it's like the principal. So if you owe money and you're late, you're going to have to owe a little extra. So if you borrow this $100 and you have to pay back $150, but you're late, every time you're late, it's an extra $20. So one of his groupies had to cover that. And, you know, they were telling me he's in there overdosing. He's just a weak dude, man, who cannot handle being around men, cannot handle being around himself. So this is it. This is his life. And people say, well, why did he want to go to death row so much? Da, da, da. Well, for a few reasons. One, he could start over again and not have to pay the debts and all that. But he knows in prison is where you have access to all the dope, and he can manipulate and use all these groupies again for a couple years until everything runs out. So at the end of the day, the man got his teeth knocked out, and the hit that was put on him was by the organization that he tried to be a part of that didn't want him. And then he fucked up and got a debt, and the organization took care of the debt and then knocked his teeth out on the yard. And that's what it is. He's a weak coward. It is the truth. I mean, his own father, you've heard it all, you know, and people can justify and try to compartmentalize, but you can't get rid of reality. And that's his biggest fear, is what he sees in that mirror. Remember, the real person you are is who you are when no one's looking. You could put on an act here, you could put on an act there, but when you're walking around with your teeth knocked out, you got a sex charge, you're manipulating everybody, you got boyfriends, you know, and you're trying to act hard. And this isn't a disrespect to any sexual orientation, but when somebody acts like they want to be a part of an organization, like that tattoo on there, they don't allow that type of behavior, lifestyle in their organization. It's just more lies, more manipulation. And the way it would all play out is that he's just going to run more debt, probably overdose again, constantly being tortured, and all these groupies paying thousands and thousands of dollars to his drug habit, to the people that are extorting him, his protection fees. Because one, you can never be in an organization like that. Their bylaws state you can't have certain type of lifestyles to be part of it. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but if you do it openly, there is no, you just completely disgrace what you're trying to be a part of. So they need to get theirs. And if they can't get to you physically, you know, obviously they're gonna fuck with your food, torture you, and have all types of things happen to you back there. But they're gonna get to every single person and control your money. When you control the money, you control the life. He's weak, he's a coward, and that's just what it is. Stay out, stay free, us.